That was my initial understanding of sex. But now, like, it was terrifying coming into coming into my marriage and being like, okay, all of those barriers, all of those defenses are gone. Like, I love this woman completely. I am completely open to her and my emotions, and I have to have sex with her. I was excited, but also like, what am I gonna do?
It's another level of vulnerability.
Yeah. So like, I am completely naked before her. Mm-hmm. That's it, naked. Hi, I'm Alex.
And I'm Grace. We are two trauma survivors who are married
and just learning how to love, grow, and heal together.
Thank you for joining our podcast, Love and Grace. So last time we were talking about dating and how we were navigating our own traumas and our own healing while we were dating. And this time we're going to talk about marriage and just the difference between dating and now we're living together and now we're in the same space. Like, what does that look like when we're trying to heal together? So
boom. You had the first question. Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. Just marriage in general. After the wedding, when everybody settles down, when everybody goes home and you're in the house together, what does that look like? Especially us being two survivors of trauma. It's a little difficult. It's a little different. And like, our traumas just keep kind of clashing at each other. And we just have to figure out how to do that. So baby, you got the first question?
Yeah. Oh, wait. Something I do want to mention, though, is that one thing that I did love that we did is that we got married by court first.
Yeah.
We got married by court and then we moved in together and then we had our wedding. And I really like that.
Yeah. And I didn't know that was a common thing. I thought that we were kind of like, okay, well, if you get married by court, then you have a wedding later. I just never thought of that as a concept. Then my dad told me that he did the same thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So, yeah, I liked it. I think it kind of, it was kind of a cool transition because we were planning the wedding together versus being separate, planning the wedding. And then, yeah. One of the couples that we looked at when we were dating was Genetics and what's her husband's name?
I don't know.
Oh, the runner. Dreads, muscles, and runner. We'll figure it out later. But, they didn't kiss while they were dating. And it was really cool seeing just how honest they were about it. And even her talking about how I could relate. You know what I'm talking about? Just her feeling like, hey, what's up? Do you want this? Even though you're still trying to maintain your boundaries, but you want to test it a little bit. You know what I'm talking about? So I appreciated the fact that we got married by court first and we were just able to get comfortable with each other first. Yeah. Because I really didn't want our first kiss to be in front of other people. Yeah. So we actually planned on getting married like a week before the wedding. Yeah, but then we ended up just due to many different situations, we ended up just deciding, hey, let's just get married by court, move in. And we probably lived together for 3 or 4 months before we got married. So I liked it.
Yeah, it was dope.
If our kids ever think about doing something like this, we'd highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we found out there are people that actually did it for an extended period of time. Remember the couple we met at church? That was 2 years.
2 years.
2 years before they did their wedding. They married by court. And I was like, oh, okay.
Right. So
that's a long time. But hey, if that's what works for them.
Saving up, doing what you need to do. Right. I'm like, that's actually very smart.
Yeah.
Extremely smart. Just financially, just using just financial wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you know it's the person that you're supposed to be with, and to just okay, let's get the legal part out of the way, and then now we're living together, and then we can plan that together. And I love it.
Yeah. So and it takes all the pressure from other people, because the wedding, a lot of the times, just be for other people.
It really is.
What they gonna think about your flowers or your corsage or whatever you got going on. So it's like, hey, yo, we get married, right? Yeah. So how does it work for us?
Yeah.
And then that's the best way that I've seen it. I was like, oh, that's an amazing concept. I've said that multiple times. Yeah. It's just a dope concept.
It took a lot of the pressure from the wedding being the end all be all moment for us. And it ended up, and our wedding was so short. We had a short ceremony, super short, 20 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
And then like we spent the rest of the night just the reception, which is really what we wanted. We wanted things simple, and we really like that. So we got to do things our way, I feel like.
Right. And I've been noticing a lot of couples don't. Yeah. Like they do things for like because the tradition or what family wants to do, or like just how that like it's just like, nah man, this is us. Like we get married, this is how we doing it. Y'all want to come to our wedding the way that we do it? All right, cool, then y'all can come. Don't say nothing about it. If you want to say something, go somewhere else about it.
Okay, Alex.
What? Okay.
You got really intense. Were you having flashbacks?
Nah. Okay. We ain't gonna get into that. It was still stressful though. That was the thing. It was still stressful.
It was.
Even though we did it our way, it was like still very, very stressful.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. Yeah, it was extremely stressful. Just the people, man. Like dealing with people. Like this is what this whole podcast is about. Like dealing with people and how they operate and function and what their thought process is on what you should be doing, because that's what they feel like they should be doing. Like, or maybe they don't do it themselves if they want you to do it because they feel like that's what should be done. Like, hey yo, chill out, young. Chill out. Ask me a question or something.
Okay, I feel like you need to get out of there mentally.
I'm still here.
Okay, so what was the first question you had, babe?
Challenges.
What are some new challenges living together?
I've been talking. You go.
Okay. While we were dating, because we were dating with the idea that we were going to get married. So a lot of the big things we discussed, we talked about sex. We were so transparent about sex. I know a lot of people who usually practice abstinence. They don't usually talk to each other about sex. But we were so open about it. We're so like open with each other. I think being best friends first really helped with that.
Yeah.
We talked about a bunch of different things in terms of like family. We really tackled some heavy subjects. But when you're living together, those heavy things, while it was good that we addressed them, but it's the small things. Like, I didn't realize our eating habits were so different. And also, too, I'm Haitian. So my idea of a wife is like, I cook food from scratch and I'm cooking 3 meals. And especially since, with Alex bringing in, he's working 2 jobs, and with me, kind of building my business from home, I felt like, that was my responsibility, making sure that he ate. And it was never out of like bitterness or like, I loved it. I loved it to the point where Alex had to get me out of the kitchen, y'all. He'd be like, can you get out the kitchen? And also, I was feeding him more meals than he was ever used to in his entire life.
I gained 15 pounds before the wedding. So before we got to the wedding, that 4-month period, I gained like 15 pounds. I'm like, yo, I don't eat this much. I usually eat like once or twice a day, and then like maybe snack a little bit. Yeah. But you trying to make meals.
I'm stacking meals. And it's just 3 meals a day.
Rice on everything, and just like being like just heavy plates, like real heavy plates for no apparent reason.
For sure.
But you said you feel like that was something that you had to do.
I felt it's cultural. Like that's one thing about Haitian women. Like we make sure our men.
I appreciate it. Don't get me wrong now. I appreciate it. Yeah. It's just more than what I needed. Yeah. And that's something that we had a conversation about.
We did. And actually, I felt some type of way because he was like, when he didn't want my breakfast, I felt some type I did. But Alex is not a breakfast guy. He likes smoothies and fruit or something really small and light for breakfast. And like his heaviest meal is a lunch. And then nighttime, he might eat like a big snack, versus a small snack in the morning. That's basically how he eats. Yeah. Unless he didn't have a big lunch, then he might have a bigger dinner. But I was trying to give him 3 meals a day, y'all.
And the thing about that is like, yo, the conversation we had was like, yo, you're giving me more than I need, and it's no longer about me, it's about you. Yeah. So now you're trying to, because you have this thing that you feel this like you need to feed me. It's like, okay, all right, cool, that's a great idea, but like tailor it to me. Yeah, I don't need that. So you're gonna make if you're gonna make my lunch, I appreciate that. I'll be ready for it. But like if I want to come home, and I cook too, so it's not like she's the only one that cooks. Like I was the one cooking for myself. Cook. So like I cook too. So sometimes I feel like cooking is therapeutic for me, and you're taking that away from me. So like at that point, I'm like, you have to have those conversations.
We had a big fight like the week before the wedding that had to do with food. It was, Alex.
No way.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was like the week before actually no, our wedding was like the week after Thanksgiving, so it was the week of Thanksgiving. We don't really celebrate Thanksgiving, but that I remember that Sunday, because Sunday is usually meal prep day, where I ask him, what do you want to eat? And then I plan out at least up until Wednesday. And then because I found out that he doesn't like to eat the same thing all week. So that's something else I had to learn. I can go off with leftovers. Like, I can live with leftovers of 2 weeks, but he doesn't like to eat the same thing all week. So I meal prep up until Wednesday. And then like halfway through the week, I switch up whatever, and then he decides, I'm in the mood for something else. But anyways, so we had a big fight. Like it was the first time I yelled at him in public. We're in Walmart, and I was yelling at him, and the biggest thing I think I got from that fight is that I felt like I was trying my best to adjust to his eating, but I felt like he wasn't like recognizing my efforts. He wasn't like working with me, or like it felt like we weren't collaborating together. But once we really thought about it, we realized, okay, and he talked to me, he's like, actually, I know you're trying really hard, but the thing is that like a lot of things that you're doing, I appreciate, but it's not how I function. So you were giving me what you thought I needed, but not what I wanted. And what was happening is that he was holding it in for a long time, just being so appreciative, because it was my way of showing him love. And he's like, no, actually, I don't want to eat a large breakfast, because then I'm tired
throughout the day.
And there's sometimes I feel like cooking, and I'm just gonna say, this week let me cook my meals, and you just gotta give me permission to do that. So I feel like that was a really good thing, but that's something we never could have prepared for during dating. No. Because during dating, if we ever did cook for each other, it was always like something we knew the person wanted.
Right.
So you're
gonna bring it to you, like, or we've had it before, and like, okay, I know that she likes this, so like I'm gonna just bring it to rehearsal or whatever.
It's not like we're planning meals together. So
planning a life together.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That it's so interesting to me how like something small like eating patterns can just says a lot about that dynamic of our marriage.
Right. Yeah, I think that was big for both of us, honestly.
Yeah. Was there something else?
It's one of the bigger ones for me. I can't think of any other ones.
Can you say though, like something that you told me about bringing somebody else into your process and trusting them with it?
Oh, okay. That was a whole thing. Same situation, but when I cook, like, I'm vegan, so that's the purpose for everything. I'm vegan. Nobody else in my family is vegan. Grace is vegan, but she eats fish, so it's like just everything else that's vegan, but just fish. So when I would be cooking, when I would be like preparing stuff, I would only be preparing for myself. When I first started becoming vegan, I realized I didn't like a lot of stuff, and I didn't really cook. I didn't really cook everything. I made like very specific meals, and I didn't go outside of my diet. And God had me on a very specific diet also, where I wasn't eating sugar, flour, or anything unnatural, like like those long chemicals that start with an X. So I would be
overly processed.
Overly processed foods or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be doing that for Monday to Friday. Then on Friday, I just eat a regular vegan. I have a regular vegan diet. So it took me a long time to kind of procure like a way that I'm eating and like I'm working on the function and like I don't really have to worry about anybody else. And then Grace lives here and she's married to me and now she wants to cook my meals. Boom, I'm not cooking anymore, but now she's not only cooking for me, but like doesn't understand the way that I eat and function throughout the week. And I'm like trying to be nice and like not like say, hey, no, I don't do it like that, and like I don't do it like this. And I've always had like a hesitation because when you're vegan and you're like oh, so what do you eat? I'm like I shut down. I'm like I don't just don't worry about it.
Here's the important thing I think I want to mention too is that I have been vegan before, and I mostly eat vegan now, but I like no dairy, no eggs, no animal product, except for sometimes I eat seafood. So I really didn't think it was that big of a difference. I'm thinking, okay, you just take away seafood, his eating and my eating are the same thing, because like I'm lactose intolerant. I don't do any, like I eat everything he eats are things that I also eat.
Yeah.
Except for like fish.
Right.
Maybe once or twice a month. Now that I'm pregnant, it's a little bit more. But
yeah.
So I really did not anticipate how much of an issue this was going to be.
Yeah, because not only is it just vegan, but like no flour and like so flour,
no processed foods.
No processed foods. Like it all has.
And he was strict too. And like if like he realized, and it was if he realized that he made a mistake and he bought something that had those stuff, he'd like, okay, well then I just won't eat that. Me, I'm like, what do you mean we're gonna waste this food? And like, so that was the conversation we had.
I'm quick to throw something away.
He's quick. I cannot. I'm from a third world country, y'all. Okay, born in a third world country.
Yeah, so I'm quick to throw something away. It's like, okay, if I don't eat it, it's gonna be wasted. So I might as well not prolong this waste. Just get it done.
Yeah.
So I forgot where we were.
No, I think what you were saying was that like trusting me with the process, like just letting me in on your journey of eating and figuring out what you are, what you're not supposed to eat. Because that's a journey between you and God for years.
Right.
And now I have to be a part of it. Now you have to let go of some control because now I'm cooking your food, but then you also have to explain it to me and all that stuff. So it was
a huge thing because I'm so used to being scrutinized for not only being vegan, but like the way that I eat. And I know that it's a personal thing between me and God. Like I'm not saying like everybody should take out flour. Everybody should. I don't usually do that. I don't broadcast it, but it's like, okay, God,
your own personal
God
journey.
was showing me something very specific for me.
Yeah.
And this is how he's teaching me a very part of functionality. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. I got it. I'm falling. I'm kind of hard on myself even when I fall. So bringing somebody into it, like, oh no, you can't just be like just stepping in here like willy nilly, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't just be like, oh, okay, well then you'll just give yourself grace and you'll eat it.
That's what I was saying. It was like, just give yourself grace. And he's like, no. That's not how I function with it. And so having that conversation was really, it was just really important. Yeah. And we had that fight in multiple different ways.
It's like an ongoing,
in different like aspects of it. Fight. It was. And I think we're a lot better at it now. Like we're,
you're like, what do you want to eat today? And then, so what do you want? I want you to leave me alone.
What?
That was when we first started the fight. You were asking me one of those times, and I was like, "Man, I don't want to keep telling her."
Oh yeah, that was a fight.
I don't want to keep telling her what I want to eat because I don't know how she's gonna like take it, and I don't want to mess it up.
And mind you,
to mess it up.
And I think it should be said too. Like, I enjoy cooking. I enjoy, like feeding him, and he enjoys my food too. The issue is not necessarily whether or not he enjoys eating my food, but like, how can we make sure to meet the criteria, the standards,
right?
Which is a different conversation. Like, because we've never had an issue with like me liking what you eat or me liking what you cook or you like.
That's never been an issue. Like I've always liked her stuff. I guess we gotta explain stuff to them, huh?
Yeah.
So that's never been an issue. So we can move on.
I feel like we've been talking about this a lot. I feel like this covers a whole lot, and I think that's interesting about marriage is that one issue can expose multiple different issues.
It was like really a trust thing too. Like, I didn't know if I can trust you with this thing that me and God had. And that was huge.
All right. What's the next one? I guess this kind of plays into it, but what were our cultural differences and what role do they play in our marriage? And I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it. Like,
my idea of what it means to be a wife is, like, your man is never have an empty stomach.
Yeah.
And in recognizing that it's good that I have that, but recognizing what he wants versus what I want to give him.
I completely appreciate it. I appreciate having a bowl of lunch in the morning to just, all I got to do is heat it up when I've been cooking stuff for myself my entire life.
Is there anything cultural that's not related to food? Can you think of any right now?
Just, when it comes to traditions and like wedding and like even with, I don't know if we're saying it on
the pregnancy, even like, Haitians are very like, by the time this comes out, we would be open with our pregnancy, so cool. It's fine. But we're very like secretive about pregnancy. Like, only certain people know the gender, and then for those who do know the gender, only certain people, only when the child is born or about to be born, they'll know the name. Yeah. So like, it's very like, I don't want to say superstitious, because I feel like that's a negative kind of.
It's rooted in a specific type of spirituality.
It's cultural, So oftentimes just kind of explaining that to him. But my thing is that, like, when he has to explain it to like somebody outside of us, then I feel kind of uncomfortable. Like, like, I don't know. That's my thing. I feel like I try
to like give you the alley-oop when it, like, or throw you the conversation, and then
like if you have to explain it to your family, like
right when I was at my brother's house, and you were like, I was like, oh, what's the name? And I was like, oh, well, it's kind of a, hey, Grace, can you explain it? Explain what? Because I didn't know. We were in the middle of a conversation, and we were like, you got to explain it. But yeah,
okay.
So I mean, that's the only real thing. Like, when I continue to learn what is cultural for you, because like me telling my family a name doesn't mean anything to you, anything to me. So like, I continue to learn those things. So it just continues to pop up. It only popped up in a fight when it comes to food. I mean, I have a lot of different things also. I'm just Black American. So I have a lot of different things, but it's just familial, not necessarily when it comes to like well, I guess American culture, I'm throwing the stuff away I don't care about. Waste, I don't care about. That's very
different, yeah.
So I'm not reusing things that I've never recycled. Like,
yes.
So so that's like something.
Why am I keeping containers?
Yeah, like
they are reusable.
It
Alex.
Is clutter. So my thing is, it's not my culture, and you're like keeping it everywhere. Like, no, I'm good. No, I'm throwing all of this stuff away.
Yeah,
because I like clean counters.
Yeah.
So what's the next one? We kind of hit that one on the head. If you have any more questions about like culturally how we're getting along, you can definitely put that in the comments. Like, we'll definitely answer. We just nothing's coming to our minds right now.
Another thing, I think this is really the big thing, is how do we approach sex now in marriage? What does that look like? And I think that's it. I think that's our last point, but it's really a big point.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It was tainted for a long time. I guess we have to go to before, but it was tainted. Sex was about power. Was about feeling like I belonged, feeling like I was doing something for myself that I felt was missing. It was rooted in anxiety. It was rooted in self-consciousness. It was rooted in like insecurity, but also like I felt like a power with it. So when like I would only have sex with women that I felt
you couldn't have a relationship with,
not necessarily couldn't have a relationship, were and so for lack of a better term, like beneath me. Like I felt like if they were able to say anything to me that would make me feel bad about myself, then I wouldn't risk being that vulnerable with that person, even if it's not in a relationship form. Like, so I would keep my distance in, like, emotionally and all of these other things, but I would be able to have sex with them. And if it didn't go well, then I can leave very quickly and I wouldn't have any attachment. And if they would say something about me, then I wouldn't. It's not like necessarily performance, but just like I was protecting myself in all fronts. So that was my initial understanding of sex. But now, like, it was terrifying coming into my marriage and being like, okay, all of those barriers, all of those defenses are gone. Like, I love this woman completely. I am completely open to her and my emotions, and I have to have sex with her. I was excited, but also like, what am I gonna do?
It's another level of vulnerability.
Yeah, so like I am completely naked before her. I said naked.
But also too, I think for me specifically, like, my only experience with sex is through my abuse. Like, any physical experience with sex is through my trauma. And then beyond that, it was pornography or erotic novels.
Right.
So it was my first time. So I was more excited than nervous. He was more nervous than excited. But I think what I appreciate about, the foundation that we built is that there's safety there, and just a safe place where we are ourselves. And I think that's the cool thing, I think, in our relationship, is that we approach sex with safety. We approach it with authenticity.
Yeah.
And then it's not necessarily one person at the service of the other person, but more so like mutually, showing love to one another, I think.
Yeah. And the things that I was speaking of were a byproduct of my sexual trauma. So I never wanted to feel like I was being taken advantage of. I never wanted to feel any of those things. I needed to feel like I was in control, and like I didn't need to control you. Like, I just didn't need, like, that wasn't something that, like, we were in it together. So that was kind of so I'm glad you were excited.
Yeah.
I'm super glad.
We've had a couple of moments where, like, just the moment of vulnerability, just like
Overwhelming.
would expose or like bring back some memories. And again, because we were so emotionally vulnerable, it'd be like, hold on, can we stop?
Yeah.
Something's coming up in my brain. And then we'll just stop. Like, there's no shaming of the other person. There's no
forcing
it if you don't want it. And I think that's the great thing, is that we came into this relationship with this idea that, nobody's forcing anybody to have sex if they don't want to.
Yeah.
And some days we're not in sync, and that's okay. One person wants it, the other person doesn't. So we either, okay, you need to go to sleep, that's fine, you go to sleep. Like, we find ways to work around to meet the needs of the person who doesn't want to do it, so that we can, it's never like a selfish, like, I want it, you got to give it to me now. And we're both like that. So, I've been triggered a couple times.
Me too.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like, I think you were more triggered in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, once you've kind of, you recovered, you healed, it was a safe place, and you're able to feel safer. And then for me, as I became safe, it opened the door for some of my triggers to come through. So we didn't have our triggers at the same time.
Thank God. That would have been no worse.
We weren't triggered at the same time.
Yeah.
But we both have experienced triggers.
And I think you bringing me back, like, I think this is necessary to say, like, I would I would disconnect, like from her, right in the middle of it, and like she would like call me like, hey, come back, like come back, like this isn't like, you don't have to just go through the motions. Like I want you emotionally as much and physically. So like that was something that was very necessary to me, that was very comforting for me, because like it's trauma, man. Like it's like you feel like you disconnect from this part of it because you've had sexual trauma. You have to disconnect emotionally to go through it, because that's what your trauma taught you. So I feel like it's necessary to say it for guys especially, because they don't feel like it's only something that women go through. Nah, man, like it's trauma is trauma, yo. And like it's very personal. So like dependent, like you may not have had the same type of reaction that I had, but you have a specific reaction to it. It's just good to recognize it. Good to recognize it and see like what specifically it is, and then like have a partner that like, if you're a partner of somebody, just being patient and like having those conversations after sex, like okay, what during or like or beginning, like, you know, just having those conversations, like, hey, what was going on? So I think that was necessary
for you to, like, as a guy, like there was this pressure to feel like I think what caused you to be distant was this pressure to like, you wanted this pressure to please, and then like if you're not pleasing, then you're not good enough, then you're not worthy, then you're not worthy of my love. And it was like it was a whole cycle you went through of like wanting to feel worthy. And I'm like, I love you, I want you, like I want you here. You know. And I think another thing that was interesting for me from my trauma is that like I don't know how to put this, but I guess the would say that, you know, I have a high drive. I think, is that the way this was? So for me, my triggers were like, you know, because I have a high drive, like not wanting that to be taken advantage of. You know, so so then what would happen is that, so my thing, our conversations and how he would work with me is recognizing, you know, sometimes I mentally don't want it, but my body does. And I want to feel okay in not doing it, even if my body wants to do it.
Yeah.
And so
I've never heard you put it like that, honestly.
Really? No. So figuring out for me was like feeling safe and not feeling like, because I'm so I don't know, easily
aroused.
Yeah. That it would be for that not to be taken advantage of. And Alex has definitely been respectful of that. If I say, you know, a sensation is too much or too overwhelming or something like that, then it's just so interesting to me that like you would think that having a high drive would not be an issue, but for me it is. You know,
because this high drive mixed with the trauma, you're like, okay, I don't want this, all of these things are happening. It's very overwhelming, but maybe I should take a step back, but my body's telling me to keep going forward. So it's kind of like I want to say like a dichotomy.
There's a disconnect between my mind, what my mind wants and what my body wants. And feeling safe in sometimes listening to my mind and not wanting to be controlled by my body. You know what I mean?
That's good.
Yeah, it's just very interesting figuring out, because I knew that being married would bring things up. I just didn't know what that would look like. And I don't think you did either.
No, I mean, I didn't know how. Like, I put things away, man. Like, you
compartmentalize.
Not even compartment. I just put them away.
Throws them away.
Throw them away, and then like it pops up in the garbage disposal. I'm like, what is this thing? So in the garbage disposal, why did it pop up in the garbage disposal?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Okay, so like those things just like pop up, and I'm like, oh, okay. I do know I had that thing. I really like repress all my stuff. Like I repress a lot of things, and like when it comes up, I'm like, oh yeah. Like all the figures and like the anger and all that stuff comes up.
Yeah.
So like I didn't know what to expect. Does people just like we were talking about this before? Like people just say, oh, marriage is going to be hard. How? Why is the first year so hard? What do we do? So like it's people are coming together and people
are not like transparent
and throw away stuff.
And I think what's been helpful for us is listening to other people's stories. And really why we created this podcast is that even though we have people that we listen to that we admire them sharing their story, but we don't see this specific topic being addressed. There's like a missing hole for us.
Yeah.
The people who we listen to don't have childhood sexual abuse. So because of that, they don't have that kind of the same trauma that we have because of that. Like there's like a missing element. So I'm like, man, it wouldn't be great if we could just share our story.
Yeah.
And then somebody who does experience that can find, oh, here's somebody who understands or feels what I feel, you know?
Yeah. That's why we here.
Yeah. Or something else I was going to say as well. Was there any other questions?
No, that was the last of the questions. Like what were triggers?
Yeah, we did. We got through all of them.
We ran through them, bro.
Boom. Okay. So the grounding question for this week is, who were the worst TV or movie married couples? Whether it's cartoon or live action, TV or movie. The worst ones.
It's either between Al Bundy and an old girl from Sons of Anarchy, or
from Married with Children.
or I'm trying to have like a controversial one, but that's the only one that I can think of. Homer and Marge.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say.
We'll get it together.
Dang, I've been thinking about that all day. I gotta think of a new one.
So you had one locked and loaded, but you're gonna ask me that right now. Okay.
Yeah, that's what happens. I think about my questions that I catch you off guard.
You see what I just did? Chupe.
Okay. Crap. No, I don't know what mine is gonna be. You know what? The Incredibles.
Really?
Frozone and his wife. How she was always nagging him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
that's a really small snapshot, though.
It is, but I feel like they were able to show the dynamics and nuances of the relationship between Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl.
They're the main characters.
That's true, but all you see is her like yelling at him and like. It just seems like a very like naggy relationship.
Okay, Grace.
And that's like, you took mine. Okay, I had a whole thing for Homer and Marge.
Subplot characters. All right.
I had a whole thing for explanation, but
actually, give me the Homer and Marge explanation.
Well, okay. Homer is drunk all the time.
Yeah, man. He
strangles their son.
Word.
He doesn't work. He's not a hard worker. Sometimes he doesn't even show up to. How does he keep his job? I don't know. He randomly leaves sometimes, and Marge takes care of everything. She was smart. Like they have an episode that shows a flashback of them, and like she was like a political activist in college. Like Marge is just like Maggie, like very smart. So anyways, I don't like their relationship because it's very it's very much like screw up husband with perfect wife, which is like a typical trope in the sitcom community.
That's real.
So
I said it first though, but that's real.
Whatever. I was thinking about it first.
Okay.
All right, that's good.
Cool.
We'll see you next time. What is our topic going to be next time?
I don't know yet. You figure it out.
Catch y'all next time.
All right. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please download our app and subscribe to us on YouTube.
Our YouTube page is called My Black Therapy TV. You can also find us on Facebook under My Black Therapy LLC, and our Instagram, which is @official My Black Therapy.
You can also support us on Patreon just by searching My Black Therapy,
or going to patreon.com/mybacktherapy.